Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye? Matthew 7:1-5. Organized criminals are always focusing on targeted individuals' sins, or they had any past problems, or basically history, instead of their organized criminal activity, which is by far greater than the organized criminals. They'll always direct the focus onto the speck of the targeted individual. The next scripture is, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye. They are genociding, raping, murdering, stealing, steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10. That's all they do. And that they focus on the speck of the target individual. The genocide murderers are basically, I believe, the U.S. military that give power to organized crime, drugs, organized crime, corrupted politicians, and Freemasonry. And they target individuals for their possessions. Basically, I believe all target individuals are linked to some type of possession. Like myself, I'm linked to land and my father's New York lottery winning. They kill the firstborn, which is myself, or they try to kill me to get to my father's properties and his possessions. They prepare the way for their children. They steal for their children. Using these corrupted politicians would ignore organized crime, would then try to plot. Freemasonry is the tactics that they use, the way they willingly ignore it, and they focus on accusing the targeted individual. The U.S. terrorists, I believe perpetrators are military who cause targeting U.S. terrorists. I believe perpetrators are military who caused targeting. My mother was in the military in mid-80s to the late 80s. She was in the U.S. Army. My mother, Lisa Morsiglio Iglesias. Do any of you targeted individuals have or had family in the military? Please leave a comment. I've seen some of targeted individuals having some type of affiliation with the military. Like either they live near a military base, or their father or their relatives are in the military. I believe they followed the children, the military brat, even to adulthood. Like they just lock on them and they follow them, and basically ruining their lives to adulthood. When I try documenting, they like to interrupt with the sound in the air. Like my aunt just called and the phone rang, scared of me documenting. So I do not in any way communicate secretly when it comes to criminal activity. Perpetrators, they like to pretend horrible crime with no victims. Like they're always pretending that we gotta protect him because he's a horrible criminal or something, and there's no victims, there's no crime that ever took place. They basically lie, and then they pretend that they're protecting the person from the law, and then they pretend that I'm communicating with them secretly of supposedly something that never happened. All day they do this, and it leads to trafficking of women. Perpetrators pretend I'm answering questions secretly out of fear of prison time. I'm not afraid to go to prison. If I did something wrong, I would turn myself in. That's the Christian thing to do. They accuse me of crimes. Perpetrators pretend victims are giving confessions of crimes to justify torture to lawlessness government. They have a secret domain that they judge people with, which is the lawlessness domain. They read implication or body language caused by themselves, by itching or energy weapons, distraction, pain. If I move my body, then they read it, and then they see it as confession or something. Well, it's not a confession at all. They use it as a confession, because I don't secretly confess to criminal activity or anything. I tell the plain facts, which I don't hide anything. There's nothing I'm hiding at all. They try to justify their torture by reading these implications. Look, he's moving his arm, when they cause the involuntary movements or affect my body. My body language is basically judged by criminals in a secret domain, which is the lawlessness domain. Then they torture me with energy weapons. They illegally torture me with energy weapons after they read the body implication. After the criminal speculates guilt, they torture. They more than likely are murdering, trafficking females while simultaneously attacking me. So when they have the excuse to attack me, they're attacking a female with the intent to traffic female. They then traffic females because they're pretending that they're attacking me for something that doesn't exist. So a horrible crime, it doesn't exist. They created this. I'm going to show in a few how they create this. When they find a new victim, they start the same cycle again. I believe when they have a new female victim, they're very friendly. The voice of skull becomes very friendly, and they start yapping away. Then they start accusing of crimes, and then they hit me with energy weapons, and they run the same cycle over and over. Because some army general, Freemason, it's like a Freemasonry type of tactic to target people with land, money, or possessions, etc. Houses. They steal. These people steal. They steal inheritance. They have killed multiple family members of mine. They're criminals. Is there oyster skull and telepathy human trafficking? I found clues. Somebody shared with me these clues that prove that there is some type of trafficking. They leave evidence behind. I heard in a television show either the perpetrator takes away something or leaves something behind in a crime scene, which is so true. I'm going to show you what two words are in almost all movies of modern, from the 60s that I'm aware of, possibly the 50s to this day, and they still put it in all the movies. These two words, like either visually or they're spoken or shown or said in every commercial, movie, radio, internet, or other displays. It could be on like some kind of sign or something like that. It doesn't even have to show the word. It could just have those symbol things. The word hotel and the F curse word is always said in movies. Every single movie. If you don't believe me, pick out any movie, any modern movie, and you will see that word in that. So that's a clue of human trafficking. Why would they put that in every movie? Because they have the intent to trick a female if she watches that. That means everybody who makes a movie puts that in there, and they're criminals of, they know what they're doing because it's in every movie. Why would they put it in? They're all criminals. If it's not said, it's suggested through images of a couple in bed. Like, for example, you see a coffee commercial and the husband and wife are hugging, drinking coffee in bed or something. Then it suggests they put these in every movie, and it's to traffic females who are affected by the voice of skull or the telepathic conditioning. When the female looks at it, they torture the female, or they tell her, they give her orders to go here or there. And they should never follow at all, period. When they cause my body to react by chopping up my brain tissue and then putting the telepathy technology, they don't acknowledge the telepathy technology, or they acknowledge some kind of communication group of Freemasonry type of beings judging. This is used in court. Like if you a good example is if I was in court and the lawyer shows evidence or something like that, and then I get surprised by the evidence. That's a spontaneous exclamation. Like if I committed a bank robbery and he found the bag, and my eyes light up like I'm in shock. How did he find that bag? So it's a spontaneous exclamation. Another example I saw in Brady Bunch, I believe it was Brady Bunch. They was getting sued because somebody got hit by a car. The guy was wearing a brace and he couldn't turn his head. He pretended that he was hurt from the accident, and I think the father Brady, he throws the suitcase down on the floor, and the guy turned his head. That's like a spontaneous exclamation that shows that the emotions show that you're lying or that you're surprised by evidence. When the perpetrators attack me or they cause itching and I move my hand, or involuntary typing or involuntary movements caused by the telepathy, which they don't acknowledge, they collectively in the lawlessness domain read spontaneous exclamation and then torture me, which is illegal because they're affecting my body with the energy weapons that hurt my back. And when I turn in my sleep, or I hold my back, or they hit my head, and when I touch my head, they read it as spontaneous exclamation. But they don't have facts or evidence or victims or anything, because there's no crime that ever took place. They read their own implications that they cause. That's what they're reading. They're willingly ignorant of the energy weapons or the telepathy technology, and they read spontaneous exclamation in their lawlessness domain. I showed this it's illusion of guilt. This part of the spontaneous exclamation. I showed this illustration before. They cause brain damage. If a victim talks to you and you react to the voice of skull, they read that as spontaneous exclamation. Telepathy technology, they cause involuntary limb jerking. They read it as spontaneous exclamation. It's illusion of guilt or illusion of confession. They just read their own illusions. A group of lawlessness people without paperwork. In the early 80s, I wanted to be a comic book artist. This is a testimony of my life. Came across this scripture I believe in the 90s, the early 90s. Luke 17:1-3, Jesus said to his disciples, things that cause that cause people to stumble are bound to come, but woe to anyone through whom they come. It would be better for you to be thrown into the sea with the millstone tied around your neck than for you to cause one of these little ones to stumble. Basically, I wanted to become a comic book artist when I was younger, in my early 20s. I read this scripture. I was a Christian since I was about 18. I read this scripture and I said, oh no, I can't draw it. Because at the time, Marvel, I don't know if DC or Marvel was heavy into like demonic Ghost Rider. They started getting demonic with these. And I saw that, if you look at the history of Marvel Comics, I saw it turning into like demonic, and my brother was into witchcraft, and it leads children into witchcraft. They look, some children, not all, they look at it and then they start getting curious, their minds, and then they start buying books and stuff, which my brother did, and he wound up going from witchcraft to turning to a homosexual. So there's some kind of link between witchcraft and homosexuality, possibly. It started with, I used to collect comic books, and then he saw me collecting, and then he got into some knowledge or something and of wisdom of the world, and then some people are taken away, like drawn by their own desires. I gave up becoming a comic book artist. I did not want to lead children to sin. That scripture is very very powerful. You don't want to create something that causes somebody to sin, because Jesus Christ is real. They pretend to know my history, they lie about facts, and they leave out the history of me not wanting to harm children. I also worked as a school safety agent for NYPD for 7 years. No children was ever harmed by me. Before this organized criminal clown Barack Obama comes into office, they accused me of harming children by Voice the Skull, and tortured me with directed energy weapons since 2007 by Voice the Skull, and in 2008 they attacked me with energy weapons. Till present day, giving up my career as a comic artist is overlooked. I'm just as good as a professional, though I never worked as a comic book artist. So they overlook my career decision, and they speculate in the lawlessness domain, and they attack me. And when they don't look at the fact that I gave this career up for the children, because I don't want to lead children into this type of sin. The facts are, I never became a comic book artist, and the accusers have no victims. Like, they can't produce a crime or a victim. They just speculate by spontaneous explanation that they caused. Before, I believe I drew this picture before I was targeted. It shows three clowns, like a Bozo the clown type of character, and two other clowns behind him. I don't know why I drew it. I think it was telepathically induced. It has like an O on the shoe. I believe it. Barack Obama. It's probably it's like somebody's judging and they're pointing downward. I just drew it. Sometimes I just draw it. I don't even know what I'm drawing. Just draw a clown. There are 3 facts the perps used. In the early 80s, I touched my cousin's pamper. This is a picture of Nicole, who's my cousin. She's over 30 years old. This picture, she's possibly a teenager. And this picture in the early 90s or the mid 90s. And I was about this age in 1981. I believe that's when that thing occurred. It was a stupid childhood, stupid thing. You know, kids do stupid things. I was that young, and she is over 30 now. And they're constantly accusing me of that as an adult. But the facts are, she's over 30. This is how she looks in the 90s, so she's even older. And when I was a teenager till my 20s, I would peep women. It was just like a sport to me. It was fun. It was like, men do that. Sometimes women do that. It's just something that people do. So they accuse me of, I don't do that no longer. Like, I stopped doing that either before or around 1998 due to working for the police department. It's something that a lot of people I know did. It's just something that people do. Maybe it's telepathically induced. I stopped in the 90s. Stopped doing all that bad stuff, whatever. In the 90s, they use that, the peeping, like they telepathically interrogate or Voice the Skull interrogates, and they place an image, and it gives the illusion of a greater crime or a recent crime or something like that. And they use sleeping with a teenager. The fact in 2004, this is a female. She was 18 in 2004, so she's about 28. She's almost 30 herself. If you do the math, or the law enforcement asks her, she probably would give them the facts. So they use Sleeping with a Teenager, Peeping Tom, and the early 1980s childhood, and they mix it up telepathically, telepathic soup, and they create a crime to, it's to use to, so they can accuse me to traffic women. This is my sexual relationship chart. This shows the oddness of their attacking. In 2005, I resigned from the police department. The yellow shows that I was active with my ex-fiance, Tamara. After Tamara, 2006, there's a 6-year gap. In 2007, I get attacked I was targeted by the Voice of Skull. In 2008, they started attacking me, and I didn't sleep with anybody for 6 years. The target individual, them blocking me, etc., me being a Christian. And then I was with the female, Vanessa, in 2012. In 2013, next year, I met Maribel. They targeted me in 2007. I resigned from the police department in 2005. There's no, they have no excuse to, like they targeted me in 2007. They just produce lies in the air, and then they target you at a certain time. There's no excuse for attacking me in 2007. They waited till I resigned from the police department, then they make excuses, and then they attack me in 2007. From 2013 to net present, I haven't had sex with anybody. So they omit the fact that I don't have sex. So why would I harm somebody or children or anything like that? I don't even have sex. Leviticus 19:28, you shall not make any cuts for your body or for the dead or tattoos of yourself. I am the Lord. After reading that in the early 90s when I was a Christian, I never got any tattoos. This picture, when I took this picture showing that I never had any tattoos on my arms, simultaneously my grandmother died. She got killed. So I think the tattoos was like part of her dying, like the identity theft. This was in 2010. I took these pictures and my grandmother died simultaneously.